Every year at Christmas, it's a great time to tell the Christmas story. And I've got a Christmas story right here for our kids. And so I want to invite our grade school kids on down to just come on up here for story time. I'm going to get on my old man glasses while you come on up. So come on up here and we're going to read a story. You know, if you've grown up in a Christian home, you've probably heard the story of Christmas. But it's always amazing different ways that people can put together the Christmas story. So come on up here and take a knee or have a seat. And we're going to have the pictures up on the big screen here. So this is the book. Yep, right up here. See? Mortimer's Christmas Manger. All right? And so I'm just delighted that you can be here and share Christmas with me and with our church tonight. And so let's start the story. Are you ready? All settled in? So, in a big house lived a wee mouse named Mortimer, and he dwelled in a dark hole under the stairs. And you can see a picture right up there. Okay? And then nobody ever noticed little Mortimer, and Mortimer liked it that way, but he didn't like his hole. Too cold, too cramped, too creepy, that's what he would say. And so each day he snuck out and crept around looking for crumbs and tidbits. And then one day, Mortimer spied something new. He spied something wonderful. He saw a huge tree covered with twinkling lights, and nestled on top was a bright, shining star, but something even better than the tree itself sat next to it on the table. Mortimer sighed with delight. A house just my size. Do you see it? But the house was so high, and Mortimer was so low. I'll climb up the tree, said Mortimer. It made a perfect ladder for a mouse. Up, 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 Mortimer climbed, and down, 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 the ornaments crashed to the floor. Finally, he reached the table. Perfect, said Mortimer. Not cold, not cramped, not creepy, cozy. But who are you? Mortimer had never seen people so small. Have you seen people as small as that before? Almost as small as himself. He'd never seen any such strange animals either. So tap, tap, tap. Mortimer knocked, and no one answered. Tap, tap, tap. No one moved an inch. I see, Mortimer squeaked. You aren't real, only statues, he said. And so Mortimer lugged, and Mortimer tugged, and one by one he dragged the statues out. When he reached the smallest statue, he saw it was a baby in a wooden bed just Mortimer's size. There's no room for you here. Out you go, he said. And then into bed crawled Mortimer, and he fell fast asleep in the soft, warm hay. The next day, as Mortimer crept about, he found good things to eat, cookie crumbs, fruitcake morsels, and spicy peppermint candy. But when Mortimer scampered back up to his new home, the statues were set up again. No, 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 squeaked Mortimer. This won't do. There's no room for me. And so Mortimer lugged and Mortimer tugged until all the statues were out. And stay out, he said. And then into the bed crawled Mortimer, where he fell fast asleep in the soft, warm hay. And Mortimer each day scurried about, and then the statues were set up again. And Mortimer always lugged and tugged them out. And then, one day, Mortimer set out, and he saw the big people gathered around the tree. And he couldn't go there, so he hid among the statues. Do you see him hiding up there? And Mortimer listened. He heard a man talking, and what he heard was wonderful. Since it's Christmas Eve, I shall tell the Christmas story, said the dad. A long time ago in a little town called Bethlehem, and Mortimer heard about people named Joseph and Mary and a bright shining star. He heard about shepherds watching their flocks by night and traveling wise men, and the man continued, and there was no room for them in the inn. And then Mortimer heard about a baby who was born in a stable and had no real bed but slept in a wooden manger, a baby born to save the world. And his name shall be called Jesus, the man said. Mortimer looked at the bright shining star in the tree. Then he looked at his new home and his new bed, and he looked at the statues, and last of all, he looked at the baby. I see, sighed Mortimer. You aren't just any statue. You're a statue of Jesus. And so Mortimer sniffed, and Mortimer snuffled, and a tear rolled down his furry cheek. There's no room for you in the inn, but I know where there's room, he said. And so Mortimer tugged, and Mortimer lugged, and he dragged all those statues back to where they belong. And last of all, he laid the baby in the manger. "This belongs to you," he said. Mortimer smiled. "You look warm and cozy now. See, all's right." There was no place for Mortimer to go, though, except back to the cold, cramped, creepy hole that he started with in the beginning. And as Mortimer scuttled down the tree, he said a prayer. "Jesus, you were born to save the world. Perhaps you could also make me a home?" And then Mortimer spied something new. He spied something wonderful. Mortimer was delighted. A house just my size. And there was no statues in sight. And so, Mortimer moved right in. You see him there by the gumdrops and the lifesavers and the M&Ms? "Thank you, Jesus," said Mortimer. "You've made room for me too." And that's the Christmas story, that we make sure and have room for Jesus every Christmas and every day. Merry Christmas. Have a good night. Okay, you can go to your seats.
I'm afraid that Mortimer may be kind of a tough act to follow. I don't think I thought that one through. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Mike, and I'm one of the pastors here at Suburban. I'm actually new here. I came from Oklahoma. Me and Jesus. Apparently, we're both from Oklahoma. Well, you know, what can I say? Actually, we're really grateful to be here. It was like 45 degrees and beautiful here today. The weather forecast for Oklahoma tomorrow is thunderstorms and tornado warnings on Christmas. So thanks for the beautiful weather. I hear it's like this all winter long. So I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know about you all, but I really do love this time of year, and I love it for a lot of reasons. And just a little one, it's kind of a silly one, but one of the things that I love about this season is what you get in the mail. Like, we get a lot of those sort of Christmas card pictures. Do you guys get those? You know, people take a picture of their family that year and put it on the card and mail it to you. It's just a great way, at least for me, to kind of keep track of friends and family all around the country, you know, sort of see how kids are growing. Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys do that? Send out like a Christmas card picture? Anybody ever done that? Okay, we've done that before. So if you've done that, you know all the work that is involved in doing that, right? Because you got to make sure you get the right picture and make sure that everybody's smiling and that your kid's hair looks right and all of that, because we really do try and put our best foot forward on those Christmas cards. We kind of make it look like our family is picture perfect. But if your family is anything like my family, I mean, we've got 4 little kids at home, you know, the reality of your normal life is not all that picture perfect. In fact, instead of being like a Christmas card picture, it's a lot more like those Christmas card family fails that you can find on the internet. So just a few of those, for example, like this one, where somebody got the idea, you know, we'll line all the grandkids up, tallest to shortest, but they didn't really think through what was going to happen with the baby. You know, this next one is wrong on so many levels. I mean, first of all, matching flannel, matching turtlenecks, not a good idea. And secondly, when the kid in the front says they've got to go, you don't try to squeeze another couple of frames in, right? You let them go to the bathroom. Then there are the families that have pets, right? Any of you guys have pets? Treat them like a member of your family. Might want them to be in the picture too. Sometimes that can work well, unless you're, you know, just not a lot of square footage for them. And then there's the action shot. You know, a lot of these people now are doing the action shot photos, and sometimes, you know, sometimes there's kind of mixed results with the action shots. And then, of course, there's the reality that every parent of multiple kids knows. You know, you're just never going to get all of them to smile at the same time in the picture. It's just not going to happen. And then this last one, I mean, it really just sort of sums up the reality of Christmas, doesn't it? You just kind of see the joy on their faces. No, the truth is, right, for most of us, our lives are a lot more like those kinds of pictures than any kind of picture-perfect Christmas card we would send out. But the crazy thing is, when we think about the first Christmas, the day, the night when Jesus was born, for some reason, we tend to think about it as if it were probably picture-perfect too. I mean, we think about it in the kinds of pictures that you would get, you know, on Christmas cards that you've come from over the years that have shown up. Or it's sort of the picture that's painted in the Christmas carols that we know and that we sing every year. You know, it's a silent night, and everything is calm, and the mom and the baby are sleeping peacefully. Now, we brought 4 kids home from the hospital. When you bring a new baby home, there are lots of words that you could use to describe what the nights are like. But you know what word I would not use? I would not use the word silent, right? There's nothing that's silent about the night when babies are there, right? Kids, how many of you guys have ever had a new baby brother or sister in your home, right? Babies make a lot of noise. They do. And yet, even though we know that that's what the reality is for babies, we know that it's messy, we know that it's never as perfect as it looks on the Christmas card. Yet, for some reason, we still love to sing these songs. And we still love to sort of picture what that Christmas could have been like, and that just connects with us, and really on a deep level. And I've started to wonder, why is that? I mean, we know that that's probably not what it was really like, so what is it about that song that just resonates with us? And I don't know about you all, but for me, I think one of the reasons I love to sing songs like Silent Night is that I just really wish that my world were more like that. I mean, I really do. It's a world where things are peaceful and secure. Because the reality is that the world that we live in is not peaceful and is not secure. I mean, we see that every day. You can't go to CNN's website without realizing that there's something else horrible that people have invented to do to each other. Right? Our world is a pretty dark and uncertain place at times. I mean, in our world, we get the news that the cancer is back. Right? In our world, we get the news that she's filing for divorce. I mean, in our world, we get the news that there's another round of layoffs coming, and maybe we're not going to be so lucky this time. That's our world. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we still are so drawn to songs like Silent Night, because we know that our real world is a mess, but we think, okay, just for one night, we can come together, we can sing this song, and I can just sort of connect on an emotional level with the world as I wish it were. And for you, maybe that's why some of you are here tonight. You're not church-going folks, you're really not interested in church or Jesus, but you thought, gosh, for just one night at the end of what has been a really horrible year in a lot of ways, I just want to go and close my eyes and sing and picture the world as I wish that it were. Well, what I want to do real briefly tonight is just try to offer you a little bit of encouragement, kind of based on this song. Because the simple truth is, the world that Jesus was born into didn't look anything like this Christmas carol. I mean, the world that Jesus was born into was every bit as dark and as broken as the world that we are in. I mean, just think about the circumstances of his birth. Right? His mom was an unmarried teenager. They lived in a land that was occupied by a brutal foreign army. Right? Jesus was born into a life of economic uncertainty and poverty. He spent the first couple of years of his life living as a political refugee in another country. Right? His world was dark, just like the dark world that we live in. But the good news, the incredible news, is that we believe Christmas changed all of that. And that's what we celebrate. That's what we want to talk about tonight. So really briefly, I want us to look together tonight at the Christmas story as told in the Gospel of John. Now, for those of you guys who know the New Testament, there's 4 different biographies of Jesus in the New Testament. We call them the Gospels, and they're named after the people that wrote them. So there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And 2 of those Gospels start out with kind of all of the Christmas story with the details that we know and love, the angels, the shepherds, the wise men, all of that. But John doesn't do that. John decides that he's going to sort of stand up and take this 30,000-foot view and talk about what happened on that Christmas morning in more of these sort of sweeping global cosmic terms. And it's just fascinating the way he does that. And when John talks about it, he never actually mentions Jesus by name when he talks about the Christmas story. Instead, he calls him the Word. So what I want us to do is read the Christmas story as told from John's perspective together. We're going to put it up on the screen, and we're going to read it out loud. And kids, especially, if you know how to read, I would love for you to read this with me. So we're going to do this. Remember, when you read that phrase, the Word, that's what John is using to describe Jesus, okay? So it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome him. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. See, that's the Christmas story from John's perspective. It's not just about a baby being born in a manger. Instead, it's about God himself coming into this world and bringing light. And that light can enter into our lives. That light can make a difference in the way we live. That light can come up against the darkness we face and defeat it. And see, that's why I love to sing the song Silent Night. Not just because of the beautiful promise that it makes, right? The promise that you see in the first verse. Instead, I really love it because of the promise that you see in the last verse. In that last verse, it says, silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright. And then it talks about how love's pure light has come. And now God's redeeming grace has dawned upon the earth. Look at that picture, right? God's redeeming grace has come like the dawn, like the sun rises in the morning. God's light is here. That grace, that dawn is here. And no darkness that you are facing in your life can stand up against that because Jesus, the Lord of all, has been born. Let me say that again. Whatever darkness you are facing in your life is no match for the light that came into this world when Jesus was born. Now, there are a lot of us in the room tonight, and I know we come from a lot of different places in life and have probably had a lot of different experiences, but I would guess that there's one thing that we all have in common. All of us either have or at some point will face really dark and difficult things in our life, the relationships that we're in, the circumstances that we face. And I can tell you that those of us who are here tonight who would consider ourselves followers of Jesus would simply say that the light that he has brought into our lives has actually made a difference in how we face those difficult and dark times. It really has changed the way that we can live. If you're here tonight and want to know what it looks like, how you can experience a little bit more light in your life in practical ways, I want to invite you to consider joining us for two things that are coming up. The first one is Night to Shine. So Night to Shine is a wonderful opportunity. It's an event that we're putting on in February to serve our community. And I don't know about you all, but I've found in my life in times when I'm down and I need to sort of experience some light, one really good way to do that is to actually get up off of my duff and go and serve someone else and share light and life and hope with other people. There's just something about that dynamic when we take the time to serve, it like opens up space in our lives so that that light can come into us as well. And this is an event that's coming up in early February that we would love for you to come and help with as we serve our community. It's one of a nationwide series of events where essentially churches put on prom-type events for high school students with severe disabilities. It's really a way that we are really working to serve our community. And we would love for you to come and be a part of helping us do that. And the invitation to help is open to everybody. You don't have to believe what we believe. In fact, you may be sitting here and think we're kind of nuts because of some of the things that we believe. But we would still love for you to come and stand shoulder to shoulder with us as we work to try to make the lives of people in our community better. So that's one way to experience some light by sharing that with others. The other thing I want to encourage you to consider doing is coming back and joining us on January the 8th. January the 8th, we're going to start a new sermon series called Come and See. And the idea behind it is really simple. Every week in January, we're just going to look at some of the things that Jesus said about who he was. Look at the kinds of things that he did and just talk in very practical ways about how that can make a difference in our lives today. And I want you to know that, again, the invitation is open to everybody. You may have had bad experiences with churches in the past. I have had bad experiences with churches in the past. And I want you to know sort of the promise that I'll make to you is we're not trying to push anything down your throat. There's not going to be a hard sell. We're not going to be asking you for money or asking you to do anything. Instead, this is simply an opportunity for you to come and just to learn more about who Jesus was and what that difference that might make in your life. So if you have got doubts or questions or you're skeptical about all of this, that's wonderful. I would encourage you to come with your doubts and your questions and your skepticisms. Because if God is not big enough to answer the doubts and the questions that you've got, he is not a God worth following. But I would encourage you to come and just learn more and see what a difference he might make in your life. As we prepare to finish up our time together tonight, it seemed appropriate that we would end by singing that song, Silent Night, again. And as you came in, you guys got one of these candles. These are the only candles that the fire marshal will let us have. But I would encourage you to go ahead and take those out. And we're just going to have the music play for a moment, and then in a moment, Randy's going to invite you to stand and sing. But until then, I would just encourage you to take this time, take this space as you listen to the music to reflect on what you've heard tonight. Maybe reflect back on the year that has been. and just would encourage you to prepare your hearts and your minds to sing these very familiar words again, but maybe sing them with fresh eyes this time.
Let's stand tonight and sing this together. Silent night. Silent night, and holy night, and all is calm, and all is bright, round yon virgin mother. So tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, and shepherds quake at the sight, glory stream from heaven afar, and heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. Silent night, and holy night, Son of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth, Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Amen. We hope you have a great